see if we have everybody who wanted to. Yeah. Who is that the person who?
I think that's fine.
Okay. Okay, glad that we have another little group. Now this is something very different. The book is written in letter form. And the main character, Sophia, writes to her friend from youth who is dying. And this is a section here very different from the one that I read before. This is how the main character writes about a visit from her mother in Spain. She is, Sophia is German, but she's a journalist living in Spain. And this will give you just a little bit more, just an idea of my style. The last time Mother came, the summer buzzed, hummed, and seized. When she emerged from the airplane, she leaned on Grandpa's hand-carved walking stick, clasping the silver crook of the handle with both hands. "I'm here to get out of the rain," she hugged me. She had a cat's repugnance for rain. The body can go on for decades, essentially unaltered, and some suddenly capitulate to age. Never before had I noticed such changes. It was as if a frost had come and taken the bloom and shaken off the late fruit. Watching my mother that summer, I was taken aback. It was not so much the fact that her body was winding down, that her lively hands seemed weary, her gait unsteady and slow, and her fine-boned feet creaked with every step, or that I heard a warble in her lovely voice. Her bountiful, useful curls still fizzed and crackled under the bristles of her cedar brush. But I was unaccustomed to seeing her let herself go. Of course, I did what I could. We exchanged her drab dress for one splashed with a touch of elegance. We threw away the worn-out shoes and bought stylish ones. She livened up for a few days, checked herself in my full-length mirror, and twisted at the waist to glance at her new low-heeled pumps. But she was happiest in my beige flannel housecoat. She wrapped herself up in it and disappeared into its soft folds like a turtle drawing itself into its shell. Having not grown up around water, Mother could not swim well. She paddled like a frog, but she enjoyed the rushing water, its touch invigorating her and frightening her just a tad. She walked into the surf to her waist or sat on the sand letting the waves wash over her. Then she licked the salt from her lips and let her hair dry, heavy and stiff in the sun. That summer, I presumed that bathing in the ocean would be a joy relegated to the past. "Take me to the beach," she urged. Her bathing suit was now 2 sizes too large. The flesh hung over her bird bone ribs, and her skin crumbled in loose flaps over slack muscles. Gone was her former vanity. Her belly was swollen. She was paler than the sand, an unhealthy grayish yellow. I had always loved her cross-hatched face, but now the lines had a purplish hue. She resembled a very old woman. My heart contracted with tenderness and pity. When a young couple lowered their eyes and kept their distance as they passed, I was ashamed of the side Mother presented to others. And when she dipped into the waves, I had to steady her entire body. She pressed against me full weight, even though the water barely sucked at our feet. We looked like 2 swaying drunks as we stumbled onto dry land. I pulled her gently but firmly towards the towels and quickly wrapped her in my bathrobe. "Role reversal," she smiled. having glimpsed my embarrassment. I choked with shame. How often had her generous heart made allowances for me? A breeze fanned her hair softly against her cheeks. It was powdered in the middle, totally gray. But there was still a sassy glint in her eyes. I made it, didn't I? For a moment, she relished her triumph. We walked at a snail's pace back to my car. She took laborious short strides. It was difficult for her to move through the sand, and she leaned heavily on my arm as before. A star-shaped jellyfish lay bloated in our path. We stepped over it and tried to ignore the unsettling sight. Mother was very tired when we got home. After a soothing bath, she curled up on the cover of my white bed and fell asleep. I sat at the end of the mattress and watched. She was rolled up in a fetal position, her face soft as a kitten's belly. My hand traced over her wrinkles. They had lost all the tenseness from the outing. Several times her eyelids quivered as if a dream had fluttered by. Her breath came and went in powdery gray swirls. She seemed cold. Before I got up to leave, I covered her up to her chin. With the corner of my sleeve, I blotted her lipstick so that if she rolled over, she wouldn't smudge the pillowcase she had embroidered for me with miniature butterflies. And then, as if someone had landed a punch in my midsection, I suddenly sank to the floor, hugging my knees to my chest. The next morning, I studied myself in the mirror. Was it in France where I'd last scrutinized myself? I had long ago lost the elasticity of youth, but now I winked at my own wilting body. Hello, I grinned. We are not old yet. We are just slid into middle age. Want to get a little more? I'll skip over some things. Okay. Just a little bit more about the mother. It's not very long. That night, I kept Mother up beyond, it's a different section now. That night, I kept Mother up beyond her bedtime. I opened a bottle of my most expensive champagne, and under a sky with stars like 1,000 eyes blinking down on us, Mother relaxed in a lawn chair, wrapped in shawls with a blanket tucked around her knees. Her lovely hair fluttered. When the garden was golden with moonlight, we turned to the subject we both enjoyed, my birth. Mother had a slightly homespun accent when she reminisced. It took 2 days for you to be born, she started the familiar story. Your father crouched helplessly at my side, encouraging me. I always pictured my dear father wringing his hands, his eyes so willing. You can do it, he coached. It was my longest and hardest labor of life, and you are its reward. Mother closed her eyes as if she wanted to go back to the experience. Then she continued, you were so small, just over 5 pounds. Every time she told the story, I got smaller, but I mused. But look at me now. Yes, but then your little body vibrated in my arms, light as that butterfly on the bench today. But your lips were strong. They held onto my breasts and you drank your fill. I rocked you and hummed, love you, little creature. You are my dream. I felt tears well up. We reached for each other and our fingers interlocked. The night was pin-drop quiet. We listened with our hearts wide open as darkness wrapped its smooth cloak securely around our everlasting bond. During the next few days, we circled back to Mother's past. Most of us have an urge, maybe more as we age, to touch once more the places and things of our childhood, she said. It's often the small things, inconsequential in the moment, that make all the difference in retrospect. I had stored most of her stories in my heart, but I listened and cherished the remaining hours. I also knew that it was a matter of great concern to her how I viewed her life, especially its ending. My mother died a few weeks after her return to Kassel. The few sparks of the dimming fire of her ailing heart blew out. I made sure her gravesite was buried under the promised roses, leaves, stems, and petals, the natural deathbed she had desired. For days, I was preoccupied with the thought of how fleeting life is. There are different things in the book, different layers, different stories. And for you who weren't here, we had a little answer and questions. So if you have any questions.